So, you want to open a pet store. Cute puppies in the window, bags of kibble stacked to the ceiling, families walking in every weekend. Feels wholesome, feels recession-proof. People always love their pets. But here's the strange part. This is a business where the products that actually make money have nothing to do with why customers walk through the door, and the product that draws customers through the door is the single biggest legal liability in the entire industry. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly where the real profit hides in a pet store, why selling live puppies can quietly bankrupt you in a courtroom instead of a balance sheet, and why an entire national chain is now shrinking, while a company that never opened a single store took over the industry. Let's start with what it costs to get in the door. A Petland franchise, the largest chain in America that still sells live puppies in stores, runs $313,000 to over $1 million to open, depending on store size and whether you include a puppy kennel. A leaner pet supply store without live animals can get started for around $138,000. Either way, you're signing up for a 10-year contract, paying a franchise fee, and handing over 4.5% of gross revenue in royalties before you've covered rent. Now here's the part that changes everything about how this business actually runs. Gross margin on pet food, toys and supplies sits at 25 to 40%. Sounds healthy, but after rent, staff, insurance, and franchise fees, net operating margin on a traditional pet retail store lands at just 5 to 15%. On a store doing $2.7 million a year, that's $135,000 to $400,000 of actual profit. And that's before you account for the fact that a well-run Petland location can generate $3.2 to $4.3 million in revenue, while a lean pet supply store owner clears something closer to $120,000 to $250,000 a year after 37 months of ramp-up. Two completely different businesses wearing the same sign. So, if margins on supplies are thin, where's the real money? Two places: services and live animals. Grooming, training, boarding, and vet care run 15 to 25% margins, nearly double retail because you're selling labor and expertise, not a bag of kibble that Amazon also sells for less. And then there's the live animal counter, which brings us to the part of this business nobody puts in the franchise brochure. A puppy that costs a breeder $225 to produce can retail for thousands of dollars once it reaches the sales floor. That's not a typo. That's the entire business model of puppy retail in one sentence. The markup on a live animal dwarfs the markup on anything else in the store, which is exactly why puppies sit in the front window instead of the dog food aisle. But that markup comes from somewhere, and increasingly, courts are deciding it comes from somewhere illegal. Petland is now the only national pet store chain in the US that still sells puppies in stores, and it's been named in lawsuit after lawsuit across Ohio, Florida, and South Carolina, alleging that puppies sourced from commercial breeding operations, the kind inspectors have cited for filthy conditions and repeated animal welfare violations, were sold to customers as healthy, purebred, and vet-checked. One lawsuit described a Rottweiler puppy sold to a widow on a fixed income, delivered to her home and financed on the spot, despite her disclosed disability and limited budget. Another described a Jack Russell Terrier hospitalized for kidney disease within days of the sale. Petland disputes the characterization and says its breeders are USDA and state inspected, but nearly 500 localities and 8 states have now banned retail puppy sales outright, and that number is growing every year. When you build your highest margin product around a supply chain, regulators are actively shutting down. You're not running a pricing strategy, you're running a countdown clock. Now for the twist that's reshaping the entire industry, regardless of what you sell. In 2017, e-commerce accounted for just 16% of retail pet product sales. By 2025, it's roughly 53%. In-store pet food sales fell 14.2% between 2020 and 2025, while e-commerce pet food sales rose 45.7% over the same stretch. Chewy alone did over $11 billion in net sales in a single fiscal year, and 78.4% of its revenue now comes from auto-ship subscriptions that customers never have to think about again. That's the quiet killer of pet retail. The highest volume, lowest margin products, the bags of food people buy every single month, are exactly the products that convert most easily to a subscription box. And once a customer sets up auto-ship, they almost never walk into a store again. You can watch this play out in real time in the two biggest chains in the country. Petco has been closing stores nationwide, citing declining revenue and rising competition from Chewy, Amazon, and PetSmart, while carrying a lower credit rating than its rival. PetSmart, by contrast, has leaned harder into in-store services, grooming, training, and its now independent Chewy spin-off, and has avoided the same wave of closures. The lesson sitting underneath both companies' results is the same one from bookstores a decade earlier. When people just need the product, Amazon and Chewy already win. The only reason to walk into a physical pet store anymore is for something a website genuinely cannot deliver. A groomer's hands, a trainer's attention, a vet's exam room, or a puppy you can hold before you buy it. So here's the reframe. A pet store was never really selling pet food. Food is the traffic driver that gets thin-margin foot traffic in the door, and e-commerce has already won that fight. The businesses that survive from here are the ones that stopped competing on the shelf and started competing on the things that require a physical human in a physical building. Grooming scissors, a leash in a training class, a vet's stethoscope. And the businesses most exposed to collapse are the ones still relying on the oldest trick in the industry, a live animal in the window, priced at a markup. Regulators and courts are now actively dismantling, one lawsuit and one local ordinance at a time. The math is simple once you see it. Whoever can only sell what a warehouse can ship cheaper is already losing. Whoever can sell what a warehouse can't, a haircut, a diagnosis, a trained behavior, is the only version of this business with a future.